I'm Cliff Tour, and this is Tales from the Cube, a podcast about working in the call center industry. The good, the bad, the funny, and not so funny about life working in the call center industry. Hello, and welcome to another edition of Tales from the Cube. I'm Cliff, and thanks for dropping in today. Today we're going to talk a little bit about a subject that is a very, very prickly one, at least in my world it is. I think a lot of people would agree with me that customer satisfaction surveys are really quite a prickly topic. It is something that we do measure. It is an important measurement, but where should it be? How should it be? And why is it that we have these? Is going to be my focus on this particular edition of Tales from the Cube. So customer satisfaction surveys are a measurement of the opinion of what is happening with regard to a service or a product and how the customer interacts with that and feels about the level of service they're getting from the person that they're talking with. It is not about the product. A lot of people assume it is, or about the service. It is about the service level of the person who is actually going forward and delivering the service, the agent. In my case, it's me as a technical support advisor. How am I doing? Am I actually helping the customer and making sure that the things that are being done relate to what the company wants as far as an image? So basically, where are they supposed to sit in the scheme of things? Well, a lot of companies put them at the top. There really is no reason for them to be at the top level. It is extremely important. I'm not saying that the customer satisfaction surveys shouldn't be in the mix here as far as a statistical piece, but they're not scientific. They are very important, but they should be really in the middle. And really the range of effective metrics measurement for them should be in the range of about 50 to 80% of the total sum of metrics. But a lot of companies tend to put them way up there. They're like really high. Like 80% of the metric is based on that. And the rest of the metrics are based off of other things like talk time, handle time, the after call work, compliance, things like this, or what's happening with respect to offline and online activity as far as being in queue and out queue. Those are more important things to really measure an advisor or an agent on, or an outbound telemarketer on, rather than the customer satisfaction survey. Why am I saying this? Because it is really what a call center should be measuring, is those kinds of statistical information pieces. The CSAT or DSAT is important. I want to reiterate that, and I will basically touch again on that and reiterate it throughout this episode. But it is and should not be at the top of the hierarchy, and it tends to be in some companies at the top of the hierarchy. And I think that's really not a good thing for a lot of reasons. I'll dip into those in a few moments. But what I want to basically state here, and you as a customer already and probably do know this, is that a customer satisfaction survey is really your opinion about blah blah. And it's really not about the product. A lot of people think when they get a customer satisfaction survey, a lot of customers think this. They think, oh, it's about the product. Well, no, it's actually about the service level of the advisor, the agent who's actually delivering the product or service in this case. It's not about what the product is doing or not doing. It's about how that advisor, how that agent is handling the situation that you're calling about. So, for example, if you have a TV, and that TV is broken, or something's not quite working right with it, you're going to call and try and get service, right, for that particular thing. And you're going to speak with an advisor or an agent, and you're going to talk to them, and they're going to try and troubleshoot the TV. They're going to try and fix it. And they may have to do some repairs, they may have to do this, they may have to do that. Part of the troubleshooting is customer service, I will say that. But the other thing that needs to be understood with regard to this is also, part of that troubleshooting is following the actual guidance for repair or replacement of an item, and that has behind it policies of the company. And customers may not like the policy or what's going on with regard to the troubleshooting steps that are being taken. They want it right, they want it now, um, they want it, uh, whichever way you want to explain it, but they want it as quickly as possible to be resolved. That's perfectly understandable. And we as advisors and agents, we do get that as technical support advisors or as salespersons or other types of advisors in the call center. We truly get that. We want you to know that we're on we're on board with that because we also want to get through the call as quickly as possible as well. So, having said that, the the survey that you're getting is about how we did it, how we managed it, not about the product itself, although that's okay to put in there. It's really about how did we do? Did we follow our procedures correctly? Did we do what was expected? Did we go in above situations where we're doing extra things to help you? Are we playing by the rules? That sort of thing. That's what's going on. There are other places for voicing opinion about what the product is doing, and that is basically feedback about a product. Where the customer satisfaction survey comes in is feedback about the person handling the interaction and the actual troubleshoot or sales process to make it as easy and functional for you, the customer, to get that thing to you or that resolution for the issue that you are facing. It is not about the product. Although sometimes it's good to know that we did something correct within that troubleshoot. It's good to know that hey, this guy followed the procedure. He got it right, and he got my thing correct. There are other times though we're not going to be able to resolve an issue, and the customer satisfaction survey um, basically shouldn't be about the fact that we didn't get the resolution you wanted. It should be about how do we handle that? How did we do it? Were we polite? Were we respectful? Did we understand your situation and frustration? And did we try to clearly explain why or why not we were able to do this or not do that? That's basically what this is. It's an opinion of us. It's not about the product. It's not an opinion about the company that we represent. It's about us. And that raises the point of why it's important to focus on that. Because we are the representatives of the company. So it does factor in if we're not representing the company properly, then basically that customer satisfaction survey now becomes a dissatisfaction survey. And the company wants to know, well, why were they dissatisfied? Did the advisor or agent do what they were supposed to do? Did they sell it correctly? Did they disposition this right in everything that they did? So this opinion does matter because it's about us as the advisor, as I mentioned, or agent or seller or whatever you want to call us. But it also makes a point of making sure that we are doing the best to represent the company and how we represent the company. It is not about the company directly. It is about us, how we represented the company and how we did our job as far as getting the thing done. So they do have a place, they do have importance, they do matter, but where should a survey sit as far as metrics are concerned? In my opinion, and I'm a frontline worker, and I think it's important and it's vital to have value from the frontline really taken seriously. Because without us, let's be realistic. If you're a manager listening to us, you need to understand this. Without the advisor, your center just doesn't work. The calls don't get answered. So it's important to have great advisors on the phone, but also to respect those people and work with them, including through the customer satisfaction process. So that is an important thing. So getting back to what is important here is that where should it sit? It should sit in the middle. It should never be at the top, and it shouldn't be rated more than I would say 80% of what's going on. That's what this measures. That's what the CSAT measures. Is how did I do it? Did I follow procedure? Did I follow policy? Did I do my best to basically get a resolution? And if I didn't get a resolution, did I explain it enough to know that you understood everything correctly? It's your opinion of me and how I represented the company. And it is valuable, but it should be between 50 and 80%. It should measure in the metrics in the middle, not at the top. What should be measuring at the top, as far as metrics are concerned, is the average handle time, the after call work, the quality of the call, and of course, our adherence to the schedule that we're working. Those are the measurements that truly matter. That's what a call center should be measuring its staff on. It should not be the CSAT at the top, as far as the top level. The CSAT comes in the middle, not at the bottom either. So it's an important thing I should mention here. It's in the middle that you're looking at. Never at the top, never at the bottom, in my opinion. Now, a lot of companies would, and a lot of people who might be listening to this podcast who are managers will say, who are you to tell me that? You're just an agent. You're just an advisor. We're the most important key to your success as a company. We're the people that represent you. So understanding that we are the people that kind of matter in this, as long as we're helping that customer, we matter. And that's an important thing you need to understand and underscore. Without us, this thing does not happen. Without you, this thing doesn't happen. So we have to collaborate with you as managers and as senior managers and work with you. And then, of course, the customer matters. You as a customer matter to us. So we want to make sure you get the best value for your buck. The bang needs to be there. So it's a collaborative effort. And I've always said this about any kind of work environment that I work in. It should never be a triad where the managers are at the top and we're at the bottom. Along with the customers, it should be equal. It should be parallel. That we're all on the same line here. We're equal. There's a little bit of, maybe a small triangle here and there for upper management and also customer, but we are the hub of this as advisors. So we need to be involved in this, and that's why I think we need to have more collaboration and cooperation with respect to this particular piece. So the CSAT should be in the middle, never at the bottom, never at the top. And the opinion also needs to be looked at its face value. Is the customer basically going forward and using this particular avenue to basically bash the company or bash the product? Yes or no? I mean, and yes, we know that customers do this. I've done it too as a customer. I've slammed companies and whatnot, and I've been sometimes quite rude to an advisor and an agent. Surprise, surprise! I'm a customer too. So using the CSAT as a hammer is something that we have to take into serious consideration, because sometimes it's really not about the product. Actually, let me rephrase that. Sometimes it's really not about the advisor, but rather about the product. Now, it's okay to mention that in the CSAT. Hey, this guy helped me out with this product, but it's really, as I mentioned, and again, I'll keep hammering home at this. It's about the advisor's work. And so that said, having that understanding that we are an important and integral role player in the whole scheme of things. Collaborating with advisors on CSAT is an important thing to do. Listening to us, understanding that, hey, listen, we're the experts right now on the phone helping your customers out. You're not there doing that. We are doing it for you. So listening to us and understanding and saying, maybe the advisor's got a point here with regard to how this is being done. We might want to listen to them and say maybe some of those surveys need to go in file 13. And they're garbage, because they're not about the advisor, they're about the company, and they're about things that even don't relate to the product in some cases. They're just they're just mangled up, angry, and upset. And other times they are truly about the product and nothing more, and again, don't really count. And other times they really are about the advisor. The advisor's made a mistake and we need to correct it. So it's finding out what it is that's going on in the survey. Is it the advisor? Is it the product? Or is this just a really mashed up situation where it's about nothing at all, just venting, and the survey doesn't matter? And I've actually heard of and seen one or two in my time where, and actually more than one or two, many surveys that come through. Hey, this was done really well. I got this, correctly fit resolved, and there's no real measurement of me. They were happy, but they didn't score me, and I'm like looking at a zero satisfaction, and that's not even going to count. It's not going to even bump me up in this in the scorecards that we look at for metrics. And other times, like I've heard where agents have done absolutely everything they're supposed to do. Customers not furious anymore. They're just absolutely elated and happy. And what do? They still give the DSAT. They still say, meh, and they throw a hammer. They give a DSAT for something. So we need to understand that the customer satisfaction survey is an opinion. It is intended to basically gauge how we're representing the company and the products, and are we measuring up to the standard of that? It is not about the product. It is not about um, the way the product works or anything like that. It is about the service level of the advisor and how well they did in making sure that they followed the correct procedures, especially if you've called the company before and you've spoken with the company and you know the procedures, you know the rules. If we are not following them, you can understand that. So that's where this lies. Customer satisfaction surveys are really, really good tools for measuring satisfaction. They're good tools for understanding the the mindset of the customer, what's going on, what they're thinking about the product um, in general, as far as how the advisor is representing the product. Okay, they're great for basically seeing whether or not all the service levels are, all the fields are there. The advisors are doing the right job. They're representing the company really, really well. What they're not really good at is accuracy and stability, because of the fact that you can get something coming in as far as a survey goes, and it's just all over the place, and it's not about the service level. It's about how they hate the product. So that said, there's another place for it, and that's your feedback form about the product. How did you like our product, and so on. That's a different kind of survey. And as a company, I would recommend, if you're listening to this, if you're a manager in a company or listening to this podcast, you might want to consider having two types of surveys: one about the product and one about the people doing the service. There are other parts of this that are so important to reflect on and think about with regard to customer satisfaction surveys. I saw some articles on this, and some things to think about with respect to the level of accuracy where this is concerned is, like I said, it's not an exact science, so the level of accuracy is not as great as we would like. Sometimes there's going to be skews. The other fact is that also people get burned out from getting so many of these, so they don't respond. So you're not going to get a big count. I mean, I'm lucky if I get, in the span of my monthly calls that I take, which is roughly anywhere from uh, 50 a week, which is about 200 a month. I'm lucky if I get 20 surveys, and I know there's more than 20 going out. So that's because surveys basically, after a while, fatigue the customer. The customer gets fatigued with them. They also do tend to have a bit of a privacy concern from what I'm reading. People are concerned about that. How does this information get really, measured and handled, and what kind of data? Well, for the most part, you really are looking at generic and germane data. It's not really something you should be really overly concerned as a customer about. But it's still understandable that you're going to be wondering about the security of them. They're pretty pretty germane. The other thing too is that they are powerful tools to basically understand the mind, uh, the customer with respect to the service level. So they are important, but I would say we need to not take them with too much um, awe. There should be some real serious grains of self thinking around this and understanding that survey is really an opinion. It's not super scientific, and it is important to basically put them into perspective in the middle. And we should be looking at listening to also what the advisor has to say. Hearing us out on this is important, and understanding that, you know what, there's some stuff here that's just junk, and leaving 5% of them out is good, but it really, in my opinion, should be at least 10%. We should look at least a 90%, uh, you know, a 90% accuracy rate, and a 10% fail rate, not a 5%, because it is really around the 10% mark, if not maybe more. I mean, I could say about, I would even say going as far as to say 20%. It's really like an 80-20. The accuracy of the CSAT is really not high as far as what a company might expect as high. You know, they're looking at 90. Well, really, survey accuracy, I would say, is more like 80%. So 80% of them are good, and the other 20%, in my opinion, are just junk. It's junk science as well, because if they're not set up correctly, they're not going to gather the kind of information. So that's another full power fall that the customer satisfaction survey has. They are sometimes not designed correctly to basically measure what you really truly want. There are a lot of really good articles out there I would point to. Search into Google and find them and take a look and see what customer service satisfaction surveys are about, and what is good and what is not so good about them. If you're going to use them as a company, I would say, particularly if you have a call center environment and you have advisors working on the phone, making sure that they're in the middle, not at the bottom, not at the top, is a good idea. Making sure that I would say, making sure that they are, um, I would say, making sure that they are measured between 50 and 80%. 80% is your golden. 50% is and up to the 80% is really good. Anything above 80 is super, and basically you should look at an accuracy rate of roughly between 5 and I would say 20%, but even 10% is a good measurement. So I would say that 90% of your surveys that you're going to get are accurate, and the other 10% are just basically waste, and you should toss them out because they're just not really good accurate measurements of that. Why am I saying this as a frontline person? Well, I'm saying this because it affects us. It affects things like my bonuses. It affects my career path. And when we use this particular um, tool in such a manner that way, it can really cause some friction between us and managerial staff. And I know for myself, it is causing that kind of friction. There's a real disdain for them, particularly by a lot of advisors. I wouldn't say every advisor is like that, but I would say that there's a number of advisors and agents and people working in the front lines and call centers who just hate these things. They're just, goodness gracious, I just hate this. And I have to admit, I'm sort of in the middle. I hate them and I don't. I think that they're good to know pieces, so I can say, okay, I'm doing well here. The customer's getting what I'm doing, and they're happy with how I'm handling them. And that's really important. So it's an important stat to basically go forward. Do I believe them in? Do I believe in them 100%? No, because I don't believe that they are scientifically accurate. But I do believe that they have a place. I do believe that they are good measuring tools. They just need to be properly created, properly managed, and we need to look at not only the feedback from the customer, We need to look at the feedback from the advisor as well on them, and we need to have a place where the advisor can say, that's really not a great survey, and the manager can come to an agreement on that and interpret those out. So there you have it. That's basically my take on the customer satisfaction survey, what I really think of it, and or in some cases don't think of it. At the end of this, what I really am trying to say here is that we need to have better collaboration between managers and the advisors in the call center. On the next episode, I'm going to focus in on what's going on in your call center. If you have a manager that you like or don't like, some managers are really, really good at their jobs, and other managers come in and they turn everything upside down and create an absolute mess. How do we deal with that? Well, I'm going to talk about that in a future episode, or possibly the next episode of Tales from the Cube. My name is Cliff. Thank you very much for listening, and don't forget to look for us on all the main channels that we are featured on, which are, of course, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and Google Podcasts. You can also look for us on the Anchor app, and I will look for you in the next episode. We'll see you soon, and thanks again for listening here. This is Tales from the Cube. My name is Cliff. Have a great rest of the Tales from the Cube can be heard on Spotify, Amazon, iHeartRadio, and Google Podcasts, as well as through the Anchor platform. I'm Cliff Tour. Thanks for listening. I'll see you in the next Tales from the Cube episode.